Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? Hope everyone is doing great. If you are new here, you're welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, you are also welcome. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful dress you're seeing on the thumbnail. So let's get started. So these are the materials I'll be working with. I have an ready-made collar, as you can see. I have a lace fabric. I'll be using this as a sleeve and at the center of the upper piece of the dress. This is my Ankara and lining. I have my matching zip. So the next thing I'm going to do is to draft the pattern for this dress. I already have a basic pattern, as you can see. This is the back part and this is the center front. So what I'm going to do next is to alter the center front. So the measurements I'm working with are the shoulder is 15 inches, the bust is 40, the bust point is 11 and a half, on the bust is 15 and a half, then the front half length is 19 inches. Now for the back half length is 16 inches. The front is longer than the back by 3 inches. Okay, so uh, gone ahead to mark the nipple to nipple line. The nipple to nipple line I'm working with is 9 inches divided by 2 will give me 4.5. So from the center front here to this line is 4.5. Okay, so I mark that all through to the bust point. This is the bust points line, and I also extend it by 1 inch above the bust points because I don't want any pointed looking figure around the bust area. Okay, so that's the essence of extending your bust, your nipple to nipple line 1 inch above your bust points line. Though this depends on the size of the person you're working with. If you're working with a smaller size, you can do half or three-quarter. Okay. I have a client, I am using 1.54. Yes, her bust is 58 inches and her waist is 53. You can see that she's a very big person. Her hip is 66. Yes, you can see how big that client is. So at this area, if I'm drafting a pattern for her, I use 1.5. Okay, so that is that. So the next thing we're going to do is to mark out the dart allowance. So at the waistline, this is the waistline, I added 2 inches dart allowance. So remember that I told you that the waist is 30. Did I mention the waist is 32 inches? Yes, the waist is 32 inches divided by 2 give us 8 inches plus 2 inches that allowance will give us 10 plus 1.5 inches allowance will give us 11 and a half. So here I have 11 and a half at the waist area. Coming to the bust is 40 divided by 4 will give us 10 inches plus 1.5 seam allowance will give us 11 and a half. So I'm going to connect both the bust area and the waist, sorry, the chest line to the waist this way. Can you see it? So I'm going to take my darts. Remember, we added 2 inches at the waistline. So at the nipple to nipple line, which becomes our dart leg, I'm going to mark 1 inch on each side of the dart leg. So 1 inch here and 1 inch here. Okay. So coming to the underbust line, this is underbust line. I'm going to mark 1/1/4 to tighten the underbust, 1/1/4 on this side, and 1/1/4 on this other side. So the next thing we're going to do is to connect the waist dart to the underbust. Can you see? So the next thing I'm going to do now is to form the on the bust, the curve, the bust curve. Okay. So I'll be placing my curve ruler this way. Can you see? And I'll connect. Can you see? The line is faint. I'll see highlight it. And we'll do the same on the other side. Can you see? So I'm going to use my marker and highlight it. Can you see? So I'm going to stop there. Next thing I'm going to do now is to come to the shoulder line. For the neckline, what I'm using here is 3 by 3 inches, 3 inch by 3 inch depth. That is for the neckline. Okay. So the shoulder is 15 inches. Remember, divide by 2 give us 7.5. So I have my 7.5 here. I came down by 1 inch, then connect to my neckline. So the shoulder slant, I'm going to divide it by 2. And what I have here is 4.5. So I'm going to divide 4.5 by 2, and that will give me 2 1/4. So this is my 2 1/4. I'm going to connect that point to this 1 inch I came up by. Okay, remember how we came up by, remember the reason why we came up above the bust point by 1 inch, so that the bust area will not be looking too pointed. Okay, so I'm going to connect this here. So for the style, we are using a shoulder princess dart. You can do armhole princess dart if you wish. And you see, you can do armhole princess dart if you wish, but I prefer shoulder princess dart. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to take our bust dart. Remember that the difference between the front half length and the back half length is 3 inches. So at the bust point area by the side, I'm going to place my tape this way, and I will go down by 3 inches and mark. Okay, that is the difference between the front and the back half lengths. Then I'll connect to the nipple to nipple line at the bust points line this way. Can you see it? Can you see it? So I'll still highlight with my marker so I can see it properly. Can you see? So we're almost done with the front. So the next thing we're going to do now is to open up this waist dart or the shoulder dart, whichever one you want to open first. Then we now close our bust darts. So I'll go ahead and open up the waist darts. Please, while drafting your pattern, make sure you don't use marker. It will add to your measurement, please. I'm doing this for the purpose of the tutorial, so that you can see what I'm doing well. Okay. So next is to so you can see. So we'll close our bust dart this way. And once you do that, you will not notice there is a shortage here by the side. Are you seeing it? You can see it's not connecting to the chest line. So what we are going to do next is to close it up this way. Can you see? Can you see? So the next thing I'm going to do is to gum down this pattern, as in close the bust dart properly. Okay, then I'll open up the shoulder darts. So I've gone ahead to slash open the shoulder line, as you can see. You can see the shoulder dart. I slash it open. And another thing I want you to notice that you notice that not tighten the over bust area. I didn't do that because of the kind of style I'm making. Okay, so that is it. So I've gone ahead to add the armhole allowance and also the shoulder allowance, if you notice. So that is all for this front. So coming to the back is just a basic back. So what I did is to add 1 inch dart allowance at the waist, and that is that for the back. So the neckline for the back is 3 inches by 1 inch depth. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is to cut the lower part of the dress. So for the lower part of the dress, if you notice, it has 2 layers. The one that is the first one and the second one, that is from the waist down. It has 2 layers. The first one and the second one, you can even alter the style and also add thread to your own if you wish. So for from the waist down to the hemline, the length there is going to be 45. So what I'm going to work with for the first layer is 20 inches. So the lower layer is going to be 21 inches. That is the height. Okay, so the first layer, which is 20 inches, I'm going to add 1 inch to it, half inch to join to the upper part of the dress, then half inch to join to the second layer of the dress. Okay, so I've also marked out the line. I'm using my lining to drag this, because if I use the Ankara, you might not see what I'm doing, so I'm using the lining. So what I have here is 21. So the waist I am working with, working with is 32 inches. Remember, divide by 4 will give us 8 inches plus 1.5 seam allowance will give us 9 inches. Sorry, 9.5. Okay, so this is 9.5. I don't add that at the front part of my skirt. It's only at the back. Okay, but if you do, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to take the hip depth, which is 9 inches. I'm going to add half to it, because by the time I join the waist to the upper part of the dress, it will shift. So I'm doing 9.5. So this is 9.5. The hip I'm working with is a 44 inches. Divide by 4 will give me 11 inches plus 1.5 seam allowance will give me 12.5. So this is my 12.5 here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, coming to the hemline, I'm going to minus 2 inches from what I have as the hip measurements. We have 12.5. You minus 2 inches from 12.5, that will give us 10.5. So at the hemline there, that is where the first layer stop, I'm going to mark 10.5. I hope you're still following. So this is 10.5 here. So the next thing we're going to do is to connect the points. So we're going to connect the waist to the hip to the hem part of the first layer. Can you see? So I'll go ahead and cut this out, then we'll cut out the back parts. So this is the front and this is the one I'm using for the back. You can see from the center, this is the center back and this is my center front. You can see I have excess around this side because I'll be adding the zipper allowance and also creating a space for the belt, so I need a bigger allowance this side. So the first thing we are going to do is to add our dart at the side of the skirt, okay? That is for the center back. Remember, there is no dart at the center front, sorry, at the front, okay? So this is how I'm adding my darts at the back. So I'm going to add 1 inch dart. So this is it. You can see where I added it. So I'm going to connect to the hip this way using my ruler. So that's the first thing I used to do while drafting the back so that I won't forget. So the next thing we're going to do now is to add 1 inch zipper allowance at the back. So we're going to do that down to the hemline. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to locate where I have my hip depth. Remember that our hip depth is 9 inches plus half inch will give us 9.5. So at the center back, I'm going to mark 9.5. So this is the 9.5. At that point, I'm going to increase the zipper allowance to increase it by half inch. That's at the zipper allowance at the hip area. I'm going to have 1.5 against 1 inch. Okay, so what we have here is 1.5 against 1 inch at the hip depth area of the center back. Remember, okay, so what we are trying to do here is to create a space for the butt. Okay, our back is not flat, so that's why we are doing that, so that our gown or our skirts will fit perfectly well. We always do that only when we are doing a fitted dress skirt. Okay, if you are doing a fit dress, you don't need to do that. Okay, so at the waist area, I'm going to measure my knee height. The knee height I'm working with is 17.5, so I'm going to mark 17.5 here. So the next thing we're going to do is to connect the waist to the new measurements. Remember, we added 0.5 extra at the hip area of the center back. At the hip area of the center back, okay? So we are going to connect that to our knee this way, and we'll stop there. Can you see? Maintaining the 1 inch allowance below the knee height. Can you see the shape now? So we're going to cut this out. So you can see the center back, the way it's looking. Can you see? And this is the side. Can you see? Can you see? So the next thing I'm going to do is to transfer this to Ankara and also cut out my upper piece. I forgot to mention something for the upper piece. In fact, I will still go back to the upper piece because I did not show you how to cut the center front. Remember, we are adding lace at the center front. I'm supposed to show you how to go about that. So for the lower part of this, the second layer of the lower part, what we are going to do is to open up the skirts this way. You are going to join the front and the back, then you measure what you have round, then you multiply by 2. What you are going to multiply what you have around the hemline by 2. That is how much you are going to cut out. Remember that the remaining second layer is going to be 25. From the waist down to the hemline of our skirt is 45 inches. We've already cut out 20 inches for the first layer. That is, the height is 20 inches. So the remaining is 25, okay? So for the 25, the width of the 25, how to get it is to measure what you have at the hem area of the first layer. You multiply by 2 or more, depending on how full you want your pleats to be, okay? So I am multiplying my own by 2, okay? So that is it. So the next thing I'm going to show you how to go about is the center front of the upper piece. So if you look closely, you will notice I've gone ahead to make some mark. As you can see, I don't know whether you can see it, the line is faint. From the center front, I go in by 1 inch, then mark it from the neckline down to the waist area. Okay, that is how big I want the lace to be. Remember, it's going to be on fold, it's on fold. So by the time you cut on your fabric and you open it up, it will be 2 inches. Okay, so that is all for the center front of the upper piece. Okay, it's nothing too difficult. Just go in by 1 inch, or it depends on how big you want the centerpiece to be. Okay, mine is going to be 2 inches. Remember to add your ½ inch sewing allowance. Remember, you're going to stitch it, join it to this side. You remember you're going to join it, so it's going to be 1.5 on fold. So by the time you open it up, it's going to be 3 inches. So by the time you join here, join to the other side, you will be left with 2 inches lace. That is the width. Okay, that is the width. Remember, it's going to start from the neck down to your waist area. Okay, so that is it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to transfer my pattern to my fabric, cut the lower part of the dress, and I'll come back and show you what to do next. So I'm done transferring the pattern to the fabric, as you can see. So I want to quickly show you how to fix this centerpiece. You can see. So you're going to bring this centerpiece, place it on top of one of the other piece. That is the center piece you cut it out from. Then get the lining. Can you see? And you stitch the lining. Remember, they're going to leave ½ inch to stitch this together. Then you turn it this way, you fill the lining inside, and this will be out on its own. So you're going to do the same on the other side piece, that is this one. In case you're confused, I want to show you the pattern I use, the pattern piece I used to cut this out. You can see this is the center piece of the pattern, and this is the side, in case you're confused. So for this piece, remember I mentioned that you're going to go in by 1 inch and cut this out. That is on fold 1 inch, and you're going to add your sewing allowance of ½ inch. So on fold, you're going to be cutting 1.5. So when you open it up, you have 3 inches. You have a ½ inch on this side and ½ inch on this side to join to this piece. Remember, this is the one that will cut out on the lace, this piece that I folded in. Okay, I hope you're not confused. So I'll go and couple all this up, and I'll come back and show you how to fix the collar. So this is how far I've gone with the dress. So this is the center piece. Can you see? I've also fixed the sleeve. So what is remaining is the lower part. That is the second layer of the lower part, then the collar. So this is how the back looks like. Can you see? And the inside. Can you see how the inside looks like? Can you see? So for the neckline, you can see the neckline is still open. I didn't close it because of the collar I will be fixing here. So normally, if I don't have this lace at the front, what I would have done is to fix my collar inside, then use the lining to cover it up. But because I have this at the front, it will be very difficult for me to do it that way. So what I'm going to do now is to top stitch on this neckline, both the lining and the main fabric. I'm going to close it this way. Okay, I'm going to close it from here to the other end. Then I'll open up my collar. You know that when you buy your collar, here is always closed. Please, this is the second piece. While I was opening up the collar, this one fell off, so I'll still fix it up. It's at the middle, so I'll fix it. So I've opened up the collar, and you see I've opened it up. So what I'm going to do now is to locate the center front, then I'll pin it fold my collar, match it with the center front of the dress, then open it up this way and fix it. So the neckline of the dress is going to be inside while I cover it up with the collar this way. Can you see? Can you see what I'm trying to show you? So this is how it's going to look like when I'm done. Okay, so for the lower part of this dress, I'm here to fix it like I told you, and this is it. So what I'm going to do now is to gather it up so that I can match with the first layer. Then I'll fix it and I'll come back and show you the finished look. So I'm done with the dress, as you can see. So this is the color. Let me see. So this is how the inside look like. Can you see? Can you see? Looking so beautiful. Looking so beautiful. Can you see? So for the down parts, I'll also fix it. Can you see? So this is the down parts. You can see it clearly. So this is how it looks on my mannequin. Looking so beautiful. Imagine when the owner wears it. I see, looking so beautiful. Thank you so much for watching and see my next one.